98.5 Speed FM.
Catch us if you can.
Stay here with you. You are a rainbow, so I am a lucky one. I am a lucky one. You are my favorite song. I am a lucky one. I am a lucky one. I am a lucky one. Same. Your love is constant. You've never lost it. Your voice is calling out my name. It makes me miss you, even when I'm with you. Oh, nobody wants to go it alone, and I just wanna stay here with you. So I am a lucky one. I am a lucky one. You are my favorite song. I am a lucky one. I am a lucky one. I am a lucky one. I am a lucky
A speedy welcome to the show for everyone. This is the Speed Lane on Asking Radio 98.5 Speed FM. And I'm your host on the show today. My name is Marysyntia Hangeior, together with
Wandedoo Tortya.
And the Speed Lane is where we talk about everyday issues that affect our homes, our communities, our lives, our morals, and our society in general. Now, today we are looking at something that touches every part of our lives, and that is culture. Why are cultural practices and then values declining in society today? From greeting elders properly to helping neighbors using indigenous languages, respecting sacred spaces, practicing modesty in dress and behavior, and even sharing love and, even food. These are things that once defined how we live together, but today many feel these practices are fading, and even Western influence, social media, and modern lifestyles are changing the way that we live. So why do you think that cultural practices and then values are declining, just going down, in fact, fading away in today's society? Now, you also can call in to be part of this conversation at any point in time. And the number for you to call is 090-3648-5868. That is 090-3648-5868. Why are these cultural practices and values we used to have as a people and society, why are they declining today? Let's talk about it. And I mentioned earlier, I wasn't here alone. I am here with Wando. So Wando, tell us what culture is.
Okay, culture is a shared set of beliefs, customs, traditions, behaviors, and artifacts that characterize a group or society. encompassing their language, their religion, their food, their art. Culture is a way of life.
Exactly. Let's put it, that definition that most of us used to already know, maybe from
In primary school,
all
secondary
the way.
school.
Culture
So
is the way of life of
a
people.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So go on.
So it's a lifestyle of a particular group of persons. The way they behave, the way they eat, their culture, their art, their behavior in a particular way, in a certain way, a peculiar way. So culture is a way of life of people, of an individual.
So do you believe that the culture that we share, in this society of ours, maybe even different, subcultures when it comes to even different tribes, and even maybe as Nigerians, as Africans, as a society that we are, do you think that it's actually declining, like it's fading away slowly and then...
Yes, I do. I believe that our culture these days has been deviated from how it was before. Yes, culture these days, people have been they have looked up to the Western people. Yes, their way of life, how they live. So they are deviating from their cultures, how they live in the early days. So you see these days, you see a child, and he or she doesn't know what happened in the olden days, like their way of style, their languages, how to speak their languages. They find it difficult to communicate in their dialogue, in their dialect. Yes, in their dialect. So culture these days, people have neglect their cultures. Yes, their way of life, the way they live. So they now focus on the westernization of the Western people.
Okay, so you are saying even at the sub levels, at the smaller levels where it comes to like different tribes and people have deviated from even those cultures and are slowly including maybe other things, and even our culture, as a people as a whole, maybe as Nigerians and Africans, you feel like it's actually declining, right?
Yes.
Which is exactly what we are talking about today. Why is it declining? So let's talk about, some of the ways that actually make someone to point out to it and then say, okay, culture is actually declining on this side of the world. We notice several cultural practices that are slowly fading, even from greeting elders properly. From different cultures, you hear people talk about, back then we used to greet our elders and even lie down. Some cultures, right? But these days, they will just remove their cap for you. And then if you go around, every other place as well, it even seems like, okay, some people don't even do that. It was something that was necessary. It was something that we knew that, okay, let's even call it compulsory. Like it's the culture. It's how people should behave. But these days, well, if the person is even able to maybe even greet an elder, then that person is, oh, this is a good child. But it was a normal thing that every child or everyone was supposed to be good. Everyone was supposed to behave like that because it was a practice that was natural, and it's becoming less common among people today. The spirit of even helping neighbors, all these doing things together.
Yes.
When we say culture is the way and life of people, and here we are actually referring to it, as large, as society. At large. So things like that, even helping our neighbors, participating in communal labor, was also, a culture that was fully present, but now it's diminishing. Our indigenous languages, once spoken fluently at home and in our communities, I mean, okay, different tribes could not maybe understand each other, but then it was still something that we came together to celebrate. Okay, you from this tribe, show us what you do, show us how your culture is, and we came together. We find love, sharing these cultures, sharing our different way of life, and then still agreeing together, as one people, that this is something that keeps us together. But these days you find that, okay, I don't know how to speak this language that I came from. It's actually, should we say, a flex now that somebody doesn't know that, and it's something that is upholded, or is something that is overlooked. Let's say overlooked, right?
Yes.
And what is more painful about that is some people are not even trying. And also, that is not it. Even respect for sacred places, maybe community ritual areas, all of those things are declining. Another thing is like modesty, even in dressing. Everyone is copying what they saw from maybe Western cultures, what they saw online, trends, just influenced by Western lifestyle. Even sharing love, food that we used to share, now everybody's mind. How can I be eating someone else's food? Eating together, everyone is becoming, divided. So these are different ways that we make one say that our culture, is declining as a people. Even our music and entertainment, rich with local rhythms, stories and messages, are being overshadowed by some people's cultures, cultures that is not ours, cultures that we bought from other people. That is what is now overshadowed our own culture, and then it's looked at as that is the right thing, or that is the norm. So why is culture, our cultural practices and values, declining today in society? Now, you also can call in to be part of this conversation, and the number for you to call is 090-3648-5868. That is 090-3648-5868. Call in and share with us why you think that these cultural practices are actually declining today, diminishing, just fading away in society today. And call in and maybe share with us some of those things that you see around that makes you feel, okay, it's actually fading away. So Wando, let's start from ourselves as usual. Why do you think this is actually happening? Why is it declining? Why is it fading away?
Well, one of the reasons I think culture has been deviated, I think is because of when someone moves to a certain environment, yes, so you begin to adapt to the person's way of life. You neglect how you were brought up or trained, so you now live according to the person's lifestyle, how they live, how they relate, how they talk. So I think like a change of environment, yes, causes culture deviation. And also another reason I think is identity and confusion. When you don't know where to go, like you're confused, should I follow this particular person? Like you like this culture and you feel like you should do it, and you don't know your own particular culture, you don't know how it relates, what they do and how they behave. So you are not confused, you don't know which one to follow, where to go. Then you are deviated from your own culture to that of another person.
So people are confused. That is why our own culture is fading away.
Yes.
Okay, so what else? Go on.
Another reason I think is individualism and personal growth. Yes, like you don't know when you fail to grow from your own culture, like you don't know your practices. Yes, so you are prone to adapt to someone else's culture. Yes. And
so like those previous cultures, they are not being preserved, because if you say that people don't know their own practices, it's more like, okay, the previous generation have not properly passed it down, which is why people would not know their own culture, and then they are adopting. But I feel like people actually pretty well know that, okay, this is our culture, or this is how we do things, because it's not too long ago that some of these things were very present, in society, but then somehow they have been influenced by different kind of cultures that are not ours. And why as some of these practices actually declining? One of the major factor, I would say, like you mentioned earlier, is Western influence and globalization, which encourages people to adopt maybe even foreign lifestyles and even entertainment. Technology, I would say, and even social media has also played a role in, how we are declining, how this culture is just fading away. Our own culture is fading away. People are forgetting about it. And you who is still behaving like that these days is considered a local person.
Yes.
You have not grown up. You're still living back in the is it in the 60s or in the 50s? You know how it is. People with different kind of names, call you different kind of names, because you're still holding on to something that people have stepped over.
Yes.
They have slowly marched on it, and just left it. So if you have just joined us, this is the Speed Lane on Asking Radio 98.5 Speed FM. And I'm your host today on the show. My name is Marysyntia Hangeior, together with
Wandedoo Tortya.
And this morning we are talking about culture. Why are cultural practices and then our values declining? Why are they fading away as a society? Why are we forgetting that we used to dress and cover this and cover that, and people are just buying some of those Western culture? Why is it actually happening? Why are we forgetting the food? Why are we forgetting things that we used to do, our togetherness, how we used to talk, how we used to identify? Why is it actually fading away? You also can call in to be part of this conversation, and the number for you to call is 090-3648-5868. That is 090-3648-5868. Why are our cultural practices and values fading away in society today? Call in and let us hear from you. Share some of those experiences or some of the things that you have seen around that makes you feel like, okay, this is actually fading away. This is actually declining. And also, let's come up with something, how we can actually get ourselves out of this, how we can even make an attempt, because I believe that is not something that you fix in a day. But then if you're able to identify what is actually causing this, then it can be said that we can come up with a solution. So why do you think that our cultural practices are declining today in society? Number for you to call is 090-3648-5868. That is 090-3648-5868. Why are our cultural practices actually declining today as a society, in our society? Why is it fading away, and why are we not doing anything about it? So one day, do you think that people have become too comfortable, with how everything is going, and they just call it, well, that is how it's supposed to be? Some people even tell me it as, change is supposed to be like that. But if we change, why are we not changing for ourselves? Do you think that people have become too comfortable with how it's changing?
Yes, I do. I believe that people have become so comfortable with the change. They want to be desire for self-expression. They want to be self-made and self-distinct. Yes.
When someone is actually maybe they are changing, it doesn't have to. Maybe you're changing to be another person. Hello. Okay, you can still call us back and be part of the show. Why are our cultural practices declining today as a society? Number for you to call is 090-3648-5868. That is 090-3648-5868. Call in and be part of the show this morning on the Speed Lane. So go on, Wando. You were talking about how you think people are too comfortable with how things are actually changing.
Yes, and I mentioned desire for self-expression. Yes, you want to express, like you want to be self-made. Like
Self-made.
Yes.
But if it's changing and then you're buying other people's own, can that be considered like self-made as well, since it's not even something that we came up with our own selves? It's something that maybe we're even copying from someone else. Can that still be considered like being self-made?
Yeah. Yes, I think so, because it's not you're not really copying from others. Like if you are copying from, like that's how you want it to be, like from your own instincts.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, from our culture is not us that made it.
It's not us that made our own culture. Then
Yes,
who
yeah.
did?
It's our generation. Like it has been passed from generation to generation.
I personally feel like our parents are us, like the previous generation. It's all us, right? You can tell me, okay, simply because maybe I am a thief girl now, then maybe I am not a thief girl because I was not the one who started it. Do you get what I'm talking about?
Yes,
Or is there a certain way that maybe you wish to maybe explain further? Go on.
Okay. Cultures are passed from generation to generation.
Mm-hmm.
This generation of us, we feel that we should like live on our own, like do things the way we are pleased. So we now neglect our own culture where we are coming
the
from.
ones that were passed down.
Yes,
And
to
then
us.
try to find a different
Oh,
one.
yes,
So we can appear as a different people.
Yes, exactly. That's what I meant.
Okay.
And so economic pressure, when someone is pressurized on how others live their life, like from the Westerners, their way of life, their dresses, their job techniques. So you'll be like, you also want to like do how they live, their job opportunities and their achievements. So by doing that, you are now deviating from our own culture to their own culture.
But do you believe that we cannot do better, as our own selves, except you have to copy the way that other people are doing about maybe their own jobs or their own, there are some things that you actually copy, because the world in general, we're supposed to develop ourselves, right?
Yes.
But there are some things that you can actually take from there, maybe to better the society. But when it comes to an issue where we are forgetting where we came from, we are forgetting how we used to dress and then copying the way that other people are dressing, or how we used to speak. This issue of I mentioned something as little as maybe greeting. Maybe there's a different culture. Some places like, okay, this doesn't matter. All you're saying is maybe hello, hi, and that is it.
Yes.
And then in our own place, it was seen like a sign of respect for you to actually maybe genuflect or even lie down. In some cultures, lay down to actually greet. But then these days, like, who believes that? Who does that? Like, why do you think that it's actually necessary to still do that again when other cultures are doing? And that is why I'm saying, okay, there are certain things that we can actually maybe see from there and be like, okay, this one is for development, right? But then this was something like respect is something that we valued so much as a culture, as a community, is something that kept us together. So forgetting that one also, can it be seen as maybe we are supposed to grow up, we are supposed to develop ourselves? Like, I don't think that is completely necessary. Or would you disagree?
Yes, I also think it's not necessary, because the younger generation of these days, they see value or they feel that they should not be connected to the olden days, like the lifestyle they grow in with the cultures. So they feel there's a generational gap, like between we and our culture. Yes, so that is making us to be deviated, and it's not helping us. I feel we can connect with what their cultures, our values, because it brings respect. Seeing an elderly person and prostrating and greeting and showing respect to the person, it brings life, and it brings a belonging, and shows that you are well behaved and well nurtured. So when we neglect all this and feel that it's normal for us to behave like others, meanwhile neglecting our cultures, is really not encouraging.
Okay, if you have just joined us, this is the Speed Lane on Asking Radio 98.5 Speed FM, and I'm your host on the show this morning. My name is Marysyntia Hangeior, together with
Wandedoo Tortya.
And this morning, our focus is culture. Culture is the heartbeat of a society. Practices like even greeting, communal labor, speaking indigenous languages, and showing respect for sacred places shaped our communities for generations. Sharing love and even food, practicing modesty, even in behavior, in dressing, also reinforce moral values and social bonds. But today we see a shift. Many young people, or many people, actually prefer Western habits and trends over our traditional ways. Even when it comes to music, fashion, and entertainment from abroad dominate, while local art, music, and storytelling are often ignored. Social media exposes everyone to new lifestyles, and the youth often imitate what they see online. Even urbanization and busy lifestyles also reduce opportunities to participate in community practices, right? So call in and be part of the show this morning and tell us why you think cultural practices and values today are actually fading away in our society. Number for you to call is 090-3648-5868. That is 090-3648-5868. Call in and be part of the show this morning. Tell us why you think our own culture, our own cultural practices are fading away, and then people are busy even taking other cultures and introducing it, not just introducing it, but then using it to even overshadow our own cultures. So wonder, do you feel like there are people who are often ashamed that, okay, we share a certain kind of culture?
Well,
Because I've heard people sound like they're ashamed that, why will I be doing this in this 2026? Someone is still
Eating.
kneeling down to do this, or we are still eating together. Where
Yes.
does that happen? But that was something that was appreciated, as a culture.
Yes.
But then it's turning like it's an issue where someone is actually ashamed to go ahead and do that. Or is it just from what I have seen, or have you noticed that as well?
Yes, I've noticed that this new generation, we feel shy to even, okay, for instance, eating with your hand in public. They feel that you should use a spoon.
Hello? Okay, we lost that, but you can still call us back again. Number for you to call is 090-3648-5868. That is 090-3648-5868. Why is our cultural practices and values actually fading away today in society? Call in and be part of the show. So go on. You were talking about maybe even eating with bare hands.
Yes, eating with bare hands. So they feel it's embarrassing to eat with bare hands, especially in public. They feel it's more unique and more nice to eat with spoon. Yes, it makes it more enticing and more beautiful.
There are some of these things that, to be honest, I would actually maybe agree with. There are some of these things, like maybe eating with, like the style of eating. You're mentioning eating with bare hands.
Yes.
It has come to do with something like preference. If somebody wants to use maybe a spoon, although there are certain dishes that back then it was culture, to be
Yes,
honest, it was
yes.
culture to eat with bare hands. But
Yes.
even that one these days, everyone, well, it's my choice, it's my life, and I can eat with a spoon or use whatever I like. Go on.
Okay, yes. So these days, some of the practices that was practiced in our culture has been reduced. Yes, we've reduced them, and even the way we talk, even our cultures. Yes, some of us don't know how to speak our languages, our dialect. Yes, like in the day of old, and it has become a norm. Like it's considered it's okay for you not to know how to speak your language, your dialogue.
It's okay, or
Yes.
are you saying it's okay, or it is considered
It's
okay? To let's
considered
know if that is
okay.
coming from you.
It's considered okay, not for you not to know how to speak your culture, your dialogue. Even dressing, our way of dressing has changed. In the olden days, you see a guy or a lady dressed in their attire, like anywhere they go. But nowadays, you are afraid to be identified that you come from this particular tribe, from this culture and
But
particular
I
culture.
believe that, okay, it's not necessarily maybe still tying those things or trying those our cultural attires, but then somehow some people still try to hide. There are
Yes,
different
yes.
occasions where
Yes.
maybe there is a cultural festival that people come out and then identify,
Yes, yes.
try to do this, But I believe that even those attires we used to use back then, if you want to still identify with it, they can be used to like make different styles to fit how society is today.
Yes.
Maybe we feel like some of those ones were too exposed and people have gone bad, and that would be considered maybe even dressing indecently.
Yes.
Then there are different ways that, okay, one thing about this modernization is that people have become wise and people have known how to actually
Adapt.
make out something with their hands. So even those attires could be used to make out something, but then people will ignore that one as well, or it's considered like it's a shame. How can I be wearing? Or
Yes.
people will even laugh at you for wearing something that is identified with your culture out
Yes.
there and you hear questions like, where is this one going to? I too sabi
Yes.
this and that. So you also can call in to be part of this conversation, and the number for you to call is 090-3648-5868. That is 090-3648-5868. Why are our cultural practices and values declining today in this part of our society? Why is it fading away? Why is it just finishing and just going away, and then no one is actually saying something about it? Do you think that this is something that is good? Do you think that this is something that is bad? Call in and let us hear from you. Call in and share your opinion. Share what you have seen that maybe point hand to our cultures actually fading away? Call in and let us hear from you. So Wando, let's talk about how this actually affects us, because if we are identifying it as a problem, then it has to be doing something, right?
Yes.
It has to be doing something for someone to actually identify it as, okay, this is a problem. So how do you think that this is affecting us? This whole fading away of our culture?
Okay, well, I think it's affecting us in many ways because it affects us not for us to adapt to our own culture. Like we neglect our history, our background, where we came from. We don't know much about it as before, as we are supposed to. Yes, like even let's talk about tribal marks. In those days, when you see someone with tribal marks, you identify that this particular person come from this particular tradition or custom.
Okay, but I personally feel like when it comes to like tribal marks, there were some things that were done, like maybe putting harm to the skin, making a child have to go through like different kind of pain just for them to identify. There are certain ways, that's my personal opinion. I feel like there are certain ways that one can actually identify with a certain culture without having to go through maybe physical pain to appear as I am from this culture. But then you can call me out of that. If you feel like, okay, if you have a different opinion, you can still say that, and you also can call in and contribute to the conversation. Number for you to call is 090-3648-5868. That is 090-3648-5868. And like I was saying, Wando, like things like tribal marks that you actually mentioned, that was something like, okay, belongs to a certain tribe, not an entire, okay, those tribes also have their own cultures, right? But then something like that these days will be considered like inflicting physical pain on someone's skin and then trying to just to make them to identify with a certain culture, which I believe there are other ways to actually identify with that culture without inflicting certain kind of pains, trying to make those marks on someone. Because if you look at it these days, it's even something that maybe you go out there and people start even mistaking it for a different kind of, or people even think that you belong to a certain kind of cult. I've seen someone like that, especially in my class back then in primary school. I've seen someone who was maybe looked at a different kind of way because he or she carried those tribal marks, which is also something that is a problem now, because people have become ashamed of certain kind of things, or certain things that we used to do. People have become ashamed of those things. But I feel like going through deep, especially when it has to do with that tribal marks, that is like inflicting personal pain. But that is my own opinion. Anyone can have their own opinion. Like you are saying, okay, it was something that was admired, but if they did it to you, like, would you be happy today?
Well, if they did it to me, I won't be happy because the world has been developed, technology has taken place, and is not considered as before. But before, it was used as a means of identity, like where you're coming from, where you belong. So it was easier for people to identify you, to locate you. But these days, the world has revolved, modernization has taken place. So as you said, it's when you see trail marks on people, it's causing pains and injuries on individuals. So
some people carry those with pride. Yes, right. Some people carry, me saying that it inflicts, those physical pain on people is not saying, okay, that was bad for the people that already went through, that phase. But then people are becoming wiser, people have evolved, and people are now knowing that, okay, there are different ways to actually identify with certain cultures without having to go through that. Do you get me?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so you also can call in to be part of this conversation, and the number for you to call is 090-3648-5868. That is 090-3648-5868. This morning on the Speed Lane, we are talking about culture. So why cultural practices and values actually declining today in our society, on this part of our world? Why is it declining? Why does it seem like people are copying different cultures that is not ours? Even from the way that we talk, from the way that we dress, people are just buying different cultures that is not ours, and then society is getting comfortable with it on this part. Call in and be part of the show. Number for you to call is 090-3648-5868. That is 090-3648-5868. Call in and let us hear from you. So Wando, we were on how this actually affects us, on this side as a society. So go on.
Okay, so one of the ways in which it affects us is loss of cultural heritage. Over time, the form our art form, our traditions, our languages, and everything, it has now disappeared. It has now been replaced by westernization. It's not what we used to know before. Our cultures, our behaviors, our arts, everything has been replaced, has been changed. So our background has been forgotten. Even the younger generations, they barely know what happened in history, like in the olden days. The folk tales, the stories they normally tell them, it has been buried. It's not known as before again. So our cultures we lost our cultural heritage, our history, the background has been lost. And the generational conflict. Yes, when a parent migrate from a country to another country, yes, you discover that they find it difficult to pass what they knew, their culture, to their own children, because where they are is surrounded by other people of different cultures, so they adapt easily to their surrounding,
and they can no longer pass down what is our own culture, and can only look at that. And I think another thing that makes this affect us so much is that people are actually glorifying some other cultures and then thinking that is what is good, or that is what is that is what should be upheld, that is what should be upholded, that is what is looked as someone who is not local. And it was not such a bad thing, or not such a bad word, to actually be local, but these days they say you're still living backwards, or your life is going backwards, simply because you're holding on to that belief that we have, that culture that we shared. And then people are glorifying more. Okay, anyone who is adopting certain cultures, maybe even training their children using those foreign cultures, those Western cultures, those are the people that are actually doing the right thing. Now, no doubt, when it comes to like development, developing oneself, or even development as a nation entirely, some of those things can be looked out to from successful countries, successful other cultures, and then drawn out and say, okay, we can do this also in our own society and then make it better. But then when we start forgetting who we are, even when it comes to things like dressing, you don't have to dress like someone to actually achieve what they have. Maybe get the kind of developments that they have. Even when it comes to like country, let's use, there are a lot of things that contribute to development, and I feel like culture, maintaining our own culture does not hinder that development. Hello.
Good morning, Marysyntia.
Yes, good morning. Tell us your name and where you're calling from.
My name is Dennis Ziharo.
Okay, and where have you called from this morning?
Yeah, I'm around Government House area.
Welcome to the show.
Now, I will let you understand that although I don't major in languages and linguistics, but I can tell you for free that a person who has a background of mother tongue understands a secondary language better.
Okay.
And this person is more informed than the people who claim that they only want to teach their children English. You can't teach English to children more than the English people. Right?
Yes.
I have been in the US, and I can tell you that there are some Indians who have lived in the US for the past 30, 40 years. They still have the same accent with those people back home, even their children. The reason being that they teach their children their languages and then they understand. And I can tell you that they are the highest earning immigrants in the US. It does not change anything about them. They are still Indians, and some of them are even dual citizens. They are Indians, Americans, but they have their own culture. Our people are, really, making the greatest mistake of not teaching their children their own languages and their values. thinking that they want to make those children civilized.
Okay.
Rather, I consider them lost, because somebody who does not know where he or she is coming from is completely lost. And that is exactly what we are doing now. We're failing as parents in this generation.
Mm.
As little as 5 years old, back in the days when I was growing up in Jos, I could tell you everything up to my last, lineage in the village. Because I had never been there, but my parents did consciously tell us, this is where you come from, this is your identity, and all of that. So, if you don't know your identity, where are you going and where are you coming from? So this problem is actually the problem with us. We claim that we're educated and we're the worst generation, because those days, some people were not even educated who lived in the town, who felt that their children should have been understood English better, but they were able to teach their children values of where they're coming from. Today, if you go to the Western world, you see Yoruba children who have never been here. Some of them, you will never even see them with an English name. They give them identity and they even teach them the language. So we are the ones who are, claiming what we are not. If we don't do this, then God will not even forgive us.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so
I
much.
appreciate you.
Yes,
Okay.
for calling in to be part of the show. So he spoke directly, on that issue of people forgetting their own mother tongue, their own languages, and then preparing, the kids are supposed to, the younger generation, they should just do this, they should just learn this kind of language. No doubt, I actually think that it's important to know both, because the way that the world is right now, we need each other, even from different countries. Like, we need each other to grow.
Yes.
Maybe you have to take this from their style, what is leading to their development, and then apply to a country that is still developing. So you kind of need a certain you need that English language, like he mentioned, to be
Yes.
able to relate with certain, because
Yes.
you cannot take the TIV language that we are speaking, and then maybe speak it to those in the Western cultures, and then expect to relate with them, and then get that development to your own place like you are looking for.
Yes.
But then what is the issue there is that people completely forget the importance of our own culture, our own values, simply because they are chasing. And then some people are not chasing let's say those Western cultures simply because they are trying to get that development. It's because it has been glorified, or it has been looked at like that is the way, and that is the one that is not the Jew way. Do you understand what I mean when I
Yes,
say the
yes.
Jew way?
Yes.
And you that is still maybe trying to hold on to this while still trying to develop yourself, and they're like, maybe you would never make it because you're still holding on to those little values that you had maybe from your culture, from your tribe, from an African setting. You're still holding on to that. So the goal is not to completely deviate from it, but to actually find a way that we can still develop ourselves without forgetting those cultures, those things that used to hold us together as a people, to be able to function, those things that we're able to show that, okay, we have love, we are together. And I mentioned things like even respect. It's declining. That is something that is very, very noticeable, that it's actually declining, and then no one actually cares about it. And I will speak about something like how we used to raise even children together, as a community. That was something that is culture. If it's a way of life of a people,
yes.
then it is culture. That is something that we used to do together. Maybe even raise children together. Someone was able to discipline another person's child. Someone was able to say, okay, this thing you're doing is wrong, because we cared for each other as
Yes.
a community, right?
Yes.
But then these days, well, everybody's seeing what they see on social media. If you touch my kid, or if you try to maybe correct my kid, I am coming for you, and I will do this, different kind of things, right?
Yes.
So that is something, it's really sad if you look at it, that we are completely forgetting our own culture just to chase those ones that are being glorified. And one thing I feel like people fail to understand is it's because those people know what their culture is, or they hold it in high esteem. That is why it becomes attractive to other people who are looking, to us who are looking at it, and then slowly people are feeling like, okay, that is the right one, or that is the one that is the way to go. Do you get what I'm talking
Yes,
about?
yes.
So you also can call in to be part of this conversation before we go, and the number for you to call is 090-3648-5868. That is 090-3648-5868. We are talking about culture. So, Wando, what do you think we can do? How do we actually make sure that we don't forget who we are as a people? This culture, how we're able to hold ourselves together as a people. What do you think the way forward is out of this?
What I think is the way forward out of this is language education. Like, educate your children about their language, their background. Yes. So let us teach our children our languages, our background language in schools. They should learn.
But you know that okay, that's like specific when it comes to the language issue, because if we're talking about culture, it's not just to that language alone. Hello.
Good morning.
Yes, good morning. Tell us your name and where you're calling from. Welcome to the show, Lord Calculus.
Good morning.
Oh, okay. We cannot hear you properly.
Okay.
Maybe try to call us back again quickly before we go. So I was saying, in general, whether it's the languages, and you have given a solution, Wando. Okay, when it has to do with the language, right? Then it should be on maybe elders, parents to actually encourage, teaching the language so that people would know. And sometimes it's not actually their fault, because I've heard of cases, okay, maybe it's because of work. People have to work these days to maybe survive. To keep things going. So but it's also important that we not forget that you have to be teaching your child this also as well. So what about other that togetherness, even the dressings, all those things as well? What do you think we can actually do?
Well, I think we should dress in our own. We should carry our languages. Carry our dresses. Like, dress in your own culture. Yes, promote your culture instead of looking out for other cultures, how they dress and how they live. You should carry your own with prestige. Yes, and I think we should also promote storytelling. You should tell your children a story, the history, things that happen in your cultures in the olden days. You should pass it to your generation by telling them the history, what happened, the stories, the events that happen, so that they'll be enlightened and know more.
Okay, I think we can start by encouraging elders to teach children local languages, proverbs, and stories. Participation in even traditional celebrations. Hello?
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you. Welcome back to the show, Lord Calculus.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. So go in. We're talking about culture quickly before we go.
So what's your question again?
We talked about, why cultural values and then practices are actually declining, in society. Mentioning even when it comes to dressing, music, languages, how we operate generally as as a society. And now we are looking at the way forward. What can we actually do to make sure that we don't lose it all while maybe chasing westernization and all the things we are busy chasing?
Okay, all right. First of all, greet Wando.
Thank you, sir.
All right. One of the reasons cultural values and practices are declining or fading is technology and social media. Technology exposes people to global lifestyles, which many times overshadow local traditions.
Okay.
You can see that young people spend more time on social media platforms like TikTok, Instagram, or Facebook instead of participating in community gatherings or learning.
Okay, we lost that, but then we already heard him, being one of those courses, maybe at the time that people are spending on social media and then getting to see other cultures. Social media shouldn't be completely like a bad thing, except that we are not using it, the way that we should use it, or people are taking too much things that they see on those platforms and then applying it to life. I mean, social media maybe sometimes shows what happens in real life, but then it doesn't mean you should copy every single thing that you see on there. And I was talking about participation in traditional celebrations should be promoted. And also, people be invited to join. Youth be invited to join, because these days it seems like when our elders want to do it, they only do it with themselves because they were the ones that were there from all time. But then even the younger generation should be, invited to join. Local music, art, and dance need to be showcased even in schools and communities. It was really tough back then. I can tell from when I was growing up, that is something that was very present. It's still there today, but then it's declining, or it's slowly going down, or maybe they'll pick a certain kind of culture and then display just that for everyone to actually hear and listen to. And people are slowly losing their sense of maybe belonging, where they actually come from, forgetting about it, and that is considered local these days. We shouldn't be. And also showing respect to other elders, practicing modesty, and then helping neighbors. And finally, we must balance exposure to following trends, with to following all these trends with appreciation for our own cultural values, right? And at this point, we have come to the end of the show. And I can see people trying to call in, but unfortunately, we'll have to talk about this, some other time. Talk more about it, because it's something that really affects us as a people. People forgetting, where we came from, how we used to operate, the cultures that, held us together. We are slowly forgetting that, which is not completely okay. So as we go about the rest of your day, don't forget to remember to uphold your cultures wisely. And I'll be with you on the speed lane this morning. My name is Marysyntia Hangeior, together with
Wandedoo Tortya.
And also coming up next at 10 a.m. is King James 90s Top 10, right here on Asking Radio 98.5 Speed FM. And until then, keep enjoying music of your life.
Hello, my cutie. Asking Radio